guess we could have thrown Victor Olofsson on that poll too, but in my mind, he is gone. I think that's a foregone conclusion. The other three, I think, were on the poll in my mind because I don't know if it's 100% that all three of them are gone for their own reasons. I feel like Girgensons out of the three is probably the most valuable, but also the league values defensemen. Like the market for defensemen is all over the place. So Johnson could be that guy too, I guess. Yeah, I think Johnson or Girgensons would have been the top two. Okposo is, if he doesn't want to go, you don't trade him. That's just that he's kind of earned that right, I guess, right? So I guess that's really a conversation that needs to be had with him. But if he doesn't want to leave, yeah, you have to keep him. He's earned that right. I think in a perfect world, both Johnson and Girgensons are gone. I don't know exactly what the value is. I don't know what Adams would be looking for, but I don't think you're going to get anything spectacular for either one of them. But I guess at least it opens up spots. I don't know. I think it was, I don't know if it was Friedman in 32 Thoughts in his blog or somebody said something. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of teams that would like to sell, but not everyone's going to exactly like what they're selling. And he mentioned the San Jose Sharks. Like, the San Jose Sharks would love to sell a lot of people, but does anybody really want that stuff? And I think Buffalo kind of falls into that as well. Like, depending UFAs that they do have, does anyone really want those guys? Maybe Erik Johnson because he's won a cut before and he's a right shot D. Maybe Girgensons because he's that bottom six guy that maybe people want in the playoffs. But realistically, are they going to want him enough to pay you anything of value? I don't know. It's something I guess we'll hear more about. But to me, the other pieces, a la Casey Middlestat, are far more valuable and far more intriguing to other teams. And I don't know if, again, I don't think that's a trade deadline trade. It could be, I guess, if the offers come in. But to me, that's more of a summer thing, if anything. So I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see, given Friedman's report that they want to get pieces to help them right now, given the fact that they're not very good, given the fact that they do have a right shot pending UFA who might be valuable, and a bottom six guy like Girgensons who can play center or wing and has been here his whole career. Maybe he wants to get traded and go on a playoff run because like the dude's 30 years old. It's like he's been here forever. It's probably just time to move on. I don't know. I don't think they're that valuable, but I guess the NHL trade deadline is weird sometimes, so we'll see.
Yeah, sometimes we see guys go for stuff and you kind of shake your head saying, okay, he was worth that. But, it is what it is. It just depends on how desperate the teams are that are trying to acquire, bottom end or complementary pieces to add to their lineup in something that they really need. And if a team thinks that they need a Zemgus Girgensons, maybe they end up forking up, a decently mid-round draft pick or something like that for him. But to me, I think the easiest one's Johnson, just because he's only been here for half a year. And I think, like you mentioned, he's got the pedigree around the league as a Stanley Cup champion with Colorado that people would want to have him in their locker room for, those late pushes to the playoffs and the deep playoff runs. He's got good experience. To me, I think it'd be harder to move a guy like Okposo because then you have to decide what do you want to do with the C because he's wearing that right now. Do you automatically throw it on a guy like Tuck or do you just go the rest of the season without a captain and just have rotating alternates? So I think that's a harder discussion to have just because of the fact that that guy is wearing your C right now. If you do trade him, then you've got to decide what to do there. And if it's a long-term leadership group or you want to just put a temporary one in place and that's a whole other discussion. So that's kind of gets a little bit more, difficult in the waters there. And then Girgensons, just for the fact that he's been here through this entire suffering, as Darcy Regier said, he drafted in 2012. He's the longest tenured Sabre. Somehow he has survived this entire thing, basically three new regimes. He keeps getting re-signed to 2 or 3 year, 1 year extensions and continues to somehow be a Buffalo Sabre. It's incredible the fact that he's lasted on this team since his draft year in 2012 when they drafted him in the first round with the pick that they got for Paul Gostad, which is wild to me that there's still some bits and pieces of that core left from that whole era of Sabres hockey. And it's Zemgus Girgensons. It blows my mind that he's still here. And it would actually kind of be sad to see him go before we finally got to the playoffs because I feel like he deserves to be here for when things actually start to go well and the team actually made the playoffs. Like he's put everything into this, his heart and soul into this organization that really hasn't given back to him other than continuing to re-sign him as a National Hockey League player. So, he's getting paid. So I'm not going to feel too much sympathy for him, but it would almost be sad to see him go because I would love to see them actually make the playoffs with Zemgus still on the roster.
Yeah, like you said, he's the longest tenured guy. He deserves, but to me, that's more reason to trade him and be like, hey man, sorry, but we'll send you somewhere where at least you have a shot. And, I know Pagula loves him. I know he loves Buffalo. If I would be totally against it because I think you just need a change. He's been here for so long. And I really do like Girgensons. Nothing against the player at all. You could always bring him back as a UFA in the summer, but
oh man,
I think it's just time to move on. Again, replace these older pending UFAs with more, little bit younger veterans and, you know, make a few tweaks on the back end and maybe add some more score. I don't know. There's a lot to be done for this team. And to me, that's why I think you have to trade Girgensons, because Pagula loves him so much. Jeff Merrick said it on 32 Thoughts, the podcast with Friedman, that, you know, ownership loves Zemgus Girgensons, Pagula loves him, and I get it, but it's been 12 years. Move on. Get what you can for him. Open up a spot. Maybe you can see someone from Rochester step up, or maybe you acquire somebody else. I don't know. But changes need to be made, and tough conversations need to be had. Like I said, Okposo is different. He's your captain. He's really enjoyed it here. He's given it his everything. He is not a player you trade unless he comes to you and says, like, I would like to, you know, go on a cup run, which maybe he wants to. Again, you're probably not going to get much for him, which is fine. Again, that's just if he wants to get moved out of the courtesy of your heart, you find a way to move him. Or if he wants to stay out of the courtesy of your heart, you let him stay. Johnson, I kind of agree with you. He's only been here half a year. I don't think this is a long-term relationship. You know, unless the agent, for whatever reason, says he does not want to be moved. I can't see why he wouldn't want to be moved, though. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, he just got here, and he's a guy that you've even said, like, should he even be in the lineup at this point? So if they were even to get something for him, I mean, I know Samuelson's out for the year, but you've got Bryson you can slide in there. You move Ryan Johnson up the lineup like you've been clamoring for half a season now. You know, they can live with not having Erik Johnson in this decor, and I think you'd basically be at the same point you're at now. I don't think that if you trade away Erik Johnson, you're instantly going to lose, you know, 20% more games. I don't think that's a move that really matters.
No, not at all. It's not making you drastically worse.
Yeah.
And like I said, like, it's easy PR. If the veterans want to get moved, you send them somewhere, and it opens up spots. Like I said, I have no idea what their plan is for this trade deadline. We do know historically the trade deadline is not really the time to make hockey trades, but if they do find a way to make one, that's great. If not, at least try and open up a few spots for, like, somebody in Rochester, somebody new. Like, I don't know.
Now, quickly before we kind of wrap up, if they were to take the C off of Kyle Okposo if he were to move, would that be a scenario where if you were the coach, just keep the A's what they are, don't name a captain the rest of the year, or would you go ahead and put it on a Rasmus Dahlin or put it on an Alex Tuch without really having a long-term plan in the summer to kind of figure all that out? Like, what do you think would be the best case scenario for that room right now if they were to move up Okposo as the cap?
You put it on Dahlin or Cousins, one of those two guys, maybe even Tuch, but you put it on one of those two guys. I think it's just, they know who the leader is. The letter doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it's a nice way to at least reward one of those players and just, like, give them a little bit of extra juice. But if you were to ask me today, I don't think Okposo gets moved.
Okay.
Right? I feel like he had the chance. Maybe his mind is different because the team isn't making the playoffs this year, but I feel like he said it's Buffalo or nowhere. Right. And if he still truly does feel that way, he's not going anywhere. So I think he's a moot point, but I think the other two, and Olofsson, whatever you can get for him, maybe those three at least you got to move. And then maybe Adams pulls a rabbit out of the hat and makes a nice little hockey trade. We'll see. I doubt it, but we'll see.
Or makes an Eric Robinson type trade.
Yeah, well.